Right now, Fox 5's Crime in the City. Here are the crimes across the 5 boroughs. We begin in Midtown Manhattan, where the NYPD is investigating 3 stabbing incidents, leaving nearby business leaders concerned about how crime could affect the city's comeback.
As you can see behind me, Times Square is making a comeback. According to business leaders, there's more visitors, there's more events, and there's more economic growth. But they say the critical issue of crime is putting that all in jeopardy, especially with multiple stabbings coming within a 3-hour time span early this morning. The NYPD says about 12:20 Tuesday morning, a 41-year-old man was jumped by 3 suspects and slashed in the face at 42nd Street and 8th Avenue by the Port Authority bus terminal. It may have been a robbery attempt. About 10 minutes later, 2 men were slashed at West 46th Street and 8th Avenue. Then just after 3 a.m., a man was slashed in the face in an unprovoked attack at the Port Authority subway station. Workers in the area are wary.
Very concerned because it seems like it's a continuing trend from the past, and it creates a sense of insecurity and fear for people.
Times Square Alliance President Tom Harris tells me new strategies and resources from the state are critical.
Crime is probably our number 1, 2, and number 3 focus. We really need to make sure that we get it right.
Harris says despite crime concerns, tourists have been coming back.
We're doing well. We could still do better. There are days in 2022 that we exceeded 2019 pre-pandemic numbers, but on average, we're probably still down 10 or 15%.
These 2 European visitors were on the same block where a 19-year-old suspect allegedly attacked 3 police officers with a machete on New Year's Eve, then witnessed the aftermath of one of the stabbings.
In Belgium, this never happens, but I didn't feel unsafe. I don't know, because there were a lot of police officers around. The whole road was blocked because they were looking for a knife. Someone was stabbed there.
John, the hot dog man's stand is down the block from one of the stabbings. He's been in the same spot for 40 years and says crime comes with the territory, but he's optimistic.
I would say this year pretty much like it used to be, close. Not like 19, but it's getting there. I think this year is going to come back to normal.
Now, police tell us that the 3 incidents were not related. However, the suspect in the subway stabbing, they believe, is also wanted for a slashing that happened Monday night when a man refused to give him a cigarette. Now, all victims were treated for non-life-threatening injuries. Now, it seems like a lot of slashings and stabbings lately. We checked with the NYPD. They do not break out stabbings and slashings from all other felony assaults.
We now go to the Claremont section of the Bronx, where stabbing left 1 man dead and a woman injured. The case is the first homicide of the year in the city.
There are still no arrests in a deadly stabbing in the Bronx. Officials say a 63-year-old man with a stab wound to the chest arrived at the emergency room of the Bronx Care healthcare system in the Claremont section. This happened early Sunday morning. He was pronounced dead. A 38-year-old woman with a stab wound to the torso is in stable condition. Police say the victims got into some kind of an argument with an unknown person who then stabbed them on College Avenue. This case is the first homicide of the year in the city.
Over on the Upper West Side, the New York City Police Department has announced they've arrested the man they say attempted to rape an 18-year-old woman aboard a subway train before a Good Samaritan intervened.
23-year-old Benjamin Isaiah now facing multiple charges. The incident happened at about 10 o'clock at night on a southbound 2 train at the 125th Street station in Harlem. Police say Isaiah exposed himself to an 18-year-old woman and then tried to sexually assault her. But a Good Samaritan helped her escape. He reportedly has 11 prior arrests, and he now faces charges including attempted rape.
In the Briarwood section of Queens, the New York City Police Department is looking for the man they say stabbed 2 other men in the early hours of the new year inside a subway station.
The stabbings happened inside the Parsons Boulevard E and F station in the Briarwood section just before 3:30 in the morning on New Year's Day. Now, police say 2 men and a suspect got into an argument that turned physical. The 26-year-old victim was stabbed in his stomach. He is in critical condition. A 28-year-old victim was stabbed in the arm, and he was treated and released from the hospital. No arrests have been made. Now, if you have any information, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers at 800-577-TIPS.
Down in Chelsea, a 61-year-old man died after being punched outside a bar on Christmas Eve.
Police say the suspect in this video got into a fight with Dwayne Patterson, who was working at Billy Mark's West Bar at the corner of 9th Avenue and West 29th Street. The suspect punched Patterson in the face. He fell and hit his head. A bartender found him unconscious. He was brought to the hospital and died on Christmas Day from a skull fracture. No arrests have been made.
Up in the Inwood section of Manhattan, the NYPD says 22 people were injured when an SUV crashed into a restaurant. Authorities say the crash happened at the Inwood Bar and Grill on Broadway and West 204th Street. A hit-and-run driver rear-ended a Toyota SUV, and it ended up in the restaurant. Police say a white Audi exited a gas station and struck the rear of the Toyota, causing the SUV's driver to lose control of the vehicle. It went over a curb and went into the front window. According to the fire department, none of the injuries were considered life-threatening. Most were injured by flying glass. 19 people were taken to hospitals for treatment. We now go to Tribeca, where a 76-year-old woman was attacked and robbed moments after she left a gym. The NYPD says it happened on New Year's Day on Leonard Street. The woman had just left the building and was walking on the sidewalk when a man approached her. He grabbed at her purse, but she pulled it away. The man then yanked her to the ground and ran off with her bag down Church Street. The victim was not seriously hurt. Anyone with information in regard to this incident is asked to call the NYPD's Crime Stoppers hotline at 1-800-577-TIPS. And finally, we end in Midtown Manhattan, where the 19-year-old suspect in a shocking machete attack on 3 NYPD officers near Times Square on New Year's Eve has been charged with attempted murder.
Just up until about a year and a half ago, the suspect wanted in this machete attack on the NYPD officers was a typical teen like so many others, a high school athlete and an honor roll student. But now he's handcuffed to a hospital bed here at Bellevue and charged with first-degree attempted murder and assault. Police say 19-year-old Trevor Bickford slashed 2 NYPD officers with this machete, fracturing the skull of one of them in an unprovoked attack just after 10 on New Year's Eve. It happened at a Times Square security checkpoint. A third officer shot the suspect in his shoulder. Both officers and the suspect are expected to fully recover.
We are working with our federal partners for this investigation, and it is ongoing. I would like to stress, as the mayor said, there is no active threat at this time.
Law enforcement sources tell us Bickford came to New York on Thursday and spent the night in the Bowery Mission. Sources say he converted to Islam after the drug overdose death of his father and may have been radicalized by extremist views. In his hometown of Wells, Maine, there is disbelief.
Oh, this is insane. I'm like blown away to think so close from home that someone would like go all the way to New York and commit these crimes.
Just kind of hard to believe. I was just shocked. It's Wells is a very small community, and you think, did this really just happen here?
Law enforcement sources tell me that the suspect had been recently put on the FBI watch list and had recently come to their attention. Officially, Assistant Director Michael Driscoll says that they believe at this early point in their investigation that he acted alone.
That's this week's Crime in the City.